bench.
This is the front bench. You're live on UBC TV. My name is Jethro Kasaigi. We do have the Ministry of Education and Sports, and I do have the Honorable State Minister for Sports, Honorable Peter Ogwang. I also do have the Commissioner for Education Planning, Mr. Okudi Robert, who is sitting in for the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Education and Sports, that is Dr. Jen Egau Okow. Honorable Minister, thank you so much for sparing time to come and address the nation, issues concerning education, but also sports. Let us first understand the ministry's structure and vision before we dive into other issues. Honorable.
Well, first of all, for the record, the ministry is led none by other than the First Lady of the Republic of Uganda, Honorable Janet Kataha Museveni is our dear Minister of Education and Sports. The President thought it wise that it should be structured in three categories. We have my colleague, the Honorable Jesse Muingo, Doctor, who is managing higher education. I have my colleague, Dr. Morris Kaduchu, who is in charge of primary education. Then I have myself, who is in charge of sports. But all of us work under our dear Minister of Education and Sports. From the technical side, of course, the permanent secretary leads the entire technical arm, where we have commissioners, we have the undersecretary, commissioners, directors. Then also we have the agencies within the Ministry of Education and Sports. To begin with, we have the National Council for Higher Education. We have the National Council of Sports. We have the Uganda National Examination Board. We have Education Service Commission. We have Uganda Technical Examinations Board, among other agencies within the Ministry of Education and Sports. So in terms of the structure and organogram of the ministry, I want to confirm that we are well structured and doing a commendable job, which I want to confirm of recent. We had the team from Office of the President when they carried out the manifesto commitments in the sector. I can proudly say that we scored 90%, and that is now, we are now headed to our last year in terms of the implementations of our manifesto in the education subsector. I also want to inform the viewers out there that the ministry is the lead chair institution for the Human Capital Development Program. And as education sector, we host a secretariat, and that other programs includes health, which is Ministry of Health. We have water, which is Ministry of Water. Then we have social development, which is under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. And I'm happy the commissioner here is actually the chairperson of that subsector as far as the technical team is concerned. So in our role and in our work in the education subsector, I want to confirm we have registered quite many achievements as education sector. And sometimes, to begin with, we can begin with the legal. As you're all aware that our ministry, education sector in Uganda, is operating under a robust legal regime. We talk about the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. We talk about the pre-primary, primary, and the post-primary Education Act. Then we talk about the Tertiary Institutions Act. Now we have also other laws which have come in place. We have the TVET Act of 2025. We have the National Sports Act of 2025. We also have other policies which have come in force. Like we all, first of all, before I go maybe to the policy, I also want to say the teachers' bill is before Parliament. Those other acts which I've talked about are already in enforcement. So like, for instance, we have just had the TVET Act. When I talk about TVET to our viewers, maybe they must know that I'm talking about the technical vocational education. Yeah. And so then now the other issues area where, of course, when I talk about the legal regime is entirely on the policies which have been approved. I want to talk about the early child development policy. I want to talk about the teacher policy. I want to talk about the sports policy. I want to talk about the TVET policy. These are all some of the legal regimes which were operating as a sector of education.
Okay.
And in all this, I want sincerely to thank our dear minister for the spearheading a robust development in the education sector. The other area, of course, which we proudly talk about is the area of the construction of the seed schools.
Yeah.
I want to confirm, which I know my technical person can give the details.
Yeah.
We have had some programs within the Ministry of Education and Sports. If you look at the policy of the NRM government, and actually where our plan is to have a secondary school per sub-county. We have to have a primary school per parish, in line with the resources we get as a sector. We have prioritized construction of seed secondary schools, and under the U-Gift program, to my knowledge, we were meant to construct about 275 schools across the country, which works are going on. Some have been completed. That's under one project. We're also talking about the Uganda Expansion Secondary School program. That one we also meant to construct about 116 secondary schools across the country. And I also want to say that besides that, we're also having additional program in as far as education in secondary school is concerned. And these are the areas which I want to confirm that you can move across the country today. If you look at the seed schools, sometimes you can think that these are in sub-counties which are remote. The only beautiful iron sheets you see down there is our schools.
Yeah, true.
So these are all the developments which are brought into the sector. So in other areas, of course, which I want to really interest ourselves.
Honorable, before we go to those other areas, I do understand that you talked about a few legal developments that you've so far achieved.
Yes.
Talking about the financial year 2023-2024.
Yes.
And in that you have the enactment of that National Sports Act.
Yes.
Allow me also ask this question that Ugandans want to know. We are hosting CHAN 2025.
Yes.
But we are also gearing up for AFCON 2027.
Yes.
How ready are we?
Well, first of all, let me make a slight correction to our viewers. This is not me, this is not you. This tournament, CHAN, was meant to be held in February. But this tournament was actually meant to be held last September. According to the organizers of the competition, who have the rights, which is the Confederation of African Football, CHAN, they have named it 2024, not 2025, as a main tournament.
Okay.
So I want to confirm to the Ugandans that the able leadership of our dear president and his colleagues, the president of Kenya and Tanzania, they supported the Federation of Uganda Football Association to bid for hosting of CHAN and AFCON 2027. The government did give guarantees for this particular competition because the federations do not have the requisites according to the guidelines given by Confederation of African Football alone to host this competition. So that's why I want to begin by thanking the federation, having come up with the idea, and then thanking our dear president who took it up to talk to his colleagues, Kenya and Tanzania, that time is now. As East Africa, we host this elite competition. Of course, it's going to be the first time East Africa will be hosting such an important competition, a football tournament. Now, for the record, I want to say that by August, beginning 2nd of August, we will be hosting CHAN 2024 here in Kampala, and the main stadium is Mandela National Stadium. Okay. Government has invested resources in terms of preparations for the team, in terms of preparations for the training facilities.
That is good news so far.
And I want to confirm that, in as far as we are concerned as government, we have had very many inspections by the Confederation of African Football. And I want to thank our dear minister. She's the chairperson of the local organizing committee, and I'm the co-chair, and then other local members. I remember the last concluded meeting we had here, we hosted, was that we had also, she had our colleagues, the ministers of sports from the United Republic of Tanzania and the minister of sports from Kenya. So in our discussions, we agreed that we should be able to put up all facilities that CAF wanted. And I want to confirm to the viewers, if you reach Nambole today, fortunately there's a game tomorrow.
Yeah, we are playing Guinea.
You will not believe that is the previous Nambole which we had because we have put a lot of resources in improving each and every part, right from the dressing rooms, right to go to the media tribune, go to the VIP areas, go to the pitch itself, go to the emergency exits, because tomorrow if you go there, you will expect that in case of any shock, fans must be able, some of them, to get to the pitch. And all these have come because these are the guidelines we got from CAF. So as a country, I confirm the training pitches we are going to use, which government has put in the money. We have, of course, there's the outside pitch of Nambole itself. Then we have Chambogo. I want to confirm that UPDF is doing a commendable job.
Within Chambogo University?
Chambogo University,
Okay.
we have made a brand new pitch, training pitch, which is for both Chan and AFCON. Then now we have worked with the FUFA. There's a stadium in FUFA Kadiba. We have named it FUFA Kadiba. We have been helping the federation with some financial support in terms of resources, but also tax clearance for purpose of that stadium. Then we're also working with the private sector. That's Muntesa 2 Stadium in Wankurukuku, to support them in terms of construction of the dressing room. And then we have tried to improve on the playing pitch. Actually, we are also going to put in what I call the goal posts, because some of the goal posts they're having, it couldn't meet the CAF standard. Then now we are working hard to secure resources to put up what we call floodlights. We had also secured the training ground of Kampala International Schools, because CAF told us we are going to host about 5 teams here. So they needed at least additional training facility for the referees. So as far as Chan is concerned, I want to confirm to the nation, under the able leadership of my chair, the Minister of Education and Sports, we are ready to host and welcome the rest of Africa to East Africa and to Uganda, particularly.
Before I cross to the Commissioner, Honorable Minister, will those who will not make it to Nambole tomorrow, will they have a chance to watch this game live on UBC?
I want to say this: the hosting rights for broadcast of these games are based and vested with the Confederation of African Football.
Okay.
What I would encourage the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance and the corporation is to buy in the rights to broadcast this event.
Okay.
And that is why UBC, I do not know whether they have bought in the rights of broadcasting this event or not, but I actually want to appeal to the management of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation and to the Ministry of ICT to help the country, because this is a national broadcaster where we expect all Ugandans to be viewing this event. And let's begin planning even for, that's for tomorrow's World Cup qualifier, but I want us now to begin focusing on Chan, which is coming in August. And that will qualify to be in the next financial year.
Okay.
But also let's begin to plan for AFCON 2027, because there are many advantages which this tournament comes along with. And for parts of our national broadcaster, for me, I would really say that it is the onus is on the management of UBC and the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. I thank you.
Okay. Commissioner, you're in charge of planning. Let's talk about our education system. How best can it be restructured to emphasize skills development?
Thank you. As you may be aware, we're already in the process of restructuring the system with the introduction of the competence-based curriculum. You see, before, we had a system which was promoting rote learning, passing exams. Students who were slow learners, but with hands-on skills, were disadvantaged. So there was no avenue for innovation and for a learner to be instilled in with the critical thinking skills. So we have now got the competence-based curriculum. The first cohort of learners who started in 2021 sat S4 last year, and they are now in S5. So the competence-based curriculum introduces a 20% assessment which is continuous, that is by the school. So you only go to sit exams to get the 80%. So this is making our children have critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, and hands-on skills. You must have heard that one of the best artists and architects have autism. So autism makes children appear to be slow learners. But you see they have practical skills, skills of the hand. They may not talk much, they may not think very fast, but when given a task to solve, you'll find that autistic children have got skills in art, in architecture, and related fields. So we're already on the right track. One of the ways that we have achieved this is through reducing the number of subjects.
Yeah.
Because you know, before, you have all these almost hundreds of subjects in a school. Children have a problem even choosing them, and you have a little bit of everything. So by reducing the workload of the children, they can focus more on internalizing the knowledge that they acquire at school. So that's one of the ways we've done it. So I've done it for lower secondary,
Okay.
and now we have an abridged curriculum for A-level. Many have been asking, after you have got this competence-based curriculum up to S4, what happens? So we now have an abridged curriculum for A-level. So when those students continue, they are going to face the same methodology of teaching, which will promote that learning.
Ugandans seem, Commissioner, Ugandans seem not to be well versed with this new curriculum. I don't know if as a ministry you've done really enough to sensitize citizens about this new initiative.
Yeah, we haven't done enough. We are in the process. We did not have adequate resources to roll out the curriculum, and also there was a bit of apprehension. Some proprietors of schools, some heads of schools may not have taken the development seriously. So since this was a pioneer program, we've faced a bit of challenges in rolling out, but NCDC and UNEB, together with the ministry, are working to ensure that the whole country, all the teachers, have got adequate knowledge about how to implement it.
Before we go for that short commercial break, there are questions and comments that are coming in from our viewers from the different parts of the country. I do have Omamani Oscar from Muntunga Morubare. He has a question. Why are the government health tertiary institutions only concentrated in Central? That is his question. Honorable Minister, maybe you will help me answer that. I also do have, thank you, Honorable Minister, for giving us good information. Are there plans to include the competence-based curriculum in primary sub-sector? This is Lawai Daniel from Kapichora. Thank you so much for watching. Good evening, gentlemen. I appreciate the effort you're putting in to transform the education sector, but as long as there are still salary disparities, the education sector will continue limping. Commissioner, you can answer this one and the two for the Minister, then we take the break.
Oh, on salary?
Yes.
On salary, government promised that they were going to roll out enhanced pay for all the civil servants. We have started with scientists.
Okay. Because
we would like to encourage our students to take science. We have got a deficit of scientists. But government has got a program to roll this out to all the teachers, including the arts teachers.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. Honorable Minister.
Well, first of all, there are other questions which my technical people are taking, which are entirely a position of mine. Well, it should go on record that we are not refusing with the enhancement of salaries for all civil servants. But the strategic position was taken that let's first begin with the scientists. As the economy continues growing, as we generate more revenues, we will be able to study on how other civil servants' salary will be enhanced, and that is applicable to even the teachers within. And here in the education sector, we're talking about the arts. The other issue which I want to talk about is the question as to why most tertiary institutions are concentrated in Buganda. I want first to say this. Under the leadership of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, he liberalized the education subsector. The liberalization of the education subsector allowed the private players to come into the what? The affairs of the education in our country. For purpose of government, we have gone ahead to begin constructing universities and other technical institutions across the country. For instance, in the western part of the country, we have Mbarara University of Science and Technology. In the western part of the country, I have Kabale University. In the western part of the country, I have Mountain of the Moon University. In the western part of the country, I have now, which we recently commissioned, I think a week ago, Bunyoro University. These are all targeted to, in terms of us expanding the education in the tertiary institutions of higher learning. When I get to the northern part of the country, we have Muni University. When I get to Acholi, we have Gulu University, which Gulu University has campuses in Moroto, which Gulu University has campuses, used to have campuses, even in Lira, but as of today, we have Lira University in Lira. Muni University is in West Nile, that's in Arua. So when I come to eastern part of the country, Teso has Soroti University. When you come to the still, that is in Teso. Soroti University operates in Teso. Then when I go to Bugisu, we have a campus of Bustema University. And when I still talk about the private sector involvement into the university, I have an Islamic University in Uganda, which is in Mbale. When you go to Tororo, I have Bustema University, which is near, it's actually Bustema is in Busia. But as far as I'm concerned, it's within Bukedi sub-region. Now, in Busoga, we now have what we call Busoga University, which is also a new university, which we are taking over. All issues of land titles, paying off debts, which are the issues in the land terms of the operationalization of that university is going on. So when we go to other technical tertiary institutions, I want to say the country is well represented, both government and the private sector. So maybe that question would have been applicable not in the NRM government, but as far as even now we are planning to put up a university in Moroto. As I speak, like I already told you that we have a University of Gulu campus in where? In Moroto. So I really want to say that the leadership of the ministry and our dear mother is doing a commendable job. No wonder we had to talk about 90% of our score in as far as implementation of the manifesto is concerned before we go into the next general election. Remember, we almost have a year to go. So it means that as far as our pledges and commitments are concerned, and if all resources were available, we'll be able to hit our peak. I also want to say this, that I think when talk about the competence-based curriculum, if there's anything which is going to change our education system is the introduction of the competence-based curriculum. Friends, me and you studied on how to cram to pass the exam.
True.
But in terms of application of the skill, like the commissioner said, it was difficult. And I'm sure that, not to undermine others, sometimes even some of our teachers who used to teach us economics could not apply that economics to the real lifetime and the real life situation.
Unlike the case today.
And today, these children we're talking about, this content-based curriculum, we needed it like yesterday. That's why today you find you go to a classroom, a kid is taught on a practical work. Practical. If it is about agriculture, the children, you know very well that who could want to go and do a practical work in a garden? When I was growing up, we were having school gardens. But during this time, somewhere there,
you dodge even.
You dodge.
Ladies and gentlemen, keep your messages coming in, keep your questions coming in. I still have a number of those. There is someone asking about the politics in sports. The Honorable Minister will answer all those questions. But for now, allow me to take a short commercial break. I'll be back. The front bench continues.
This is the front bench.
Welcome, traveler, to the adventure of a lifetime. Rare, beautiful, and precious. Embrace the unique, unforgettable, and extraordinary. Come and explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
Uganda fire! Endiva fire! Fire!
Uganda fire! Endiva fire! Our border fire! MTN fire! Nagone fire! Fire, fire! Chileka banda fire! Prince fire! Banana Masaka fire! Our taxi fire! Fire, fire!
Uganda fire! Buy your tickets through MTN Momo on *165*20# and come support Uganda Cranes.
We are what? Unstoppable! We are what? Unstoppable! We are good. With MTN. We are what? Unstoppable! We are good.
Proudly brought to you by MTN, the #1 supporter of Uganda Cranes. Together, we're unstoppable.
Alright, listen up. Qualicates is on a mission. It makes our gums healthy and our teeth strong. See? We're moving forward and making changes.
It's kind of a big thing.
Colgate Herbal uses traditional nature's herbs and combines it with Colgate Science for healthy gums and strong teeth.
And we'll leave no smile behind.
This is the Front Bench.
This is the Front Bench. You're still live on UBC TV. Thank you so much for keeping it UBC. I still do have the Minister, State Minister for Sports, Honorable Peter Ogwang, and also do have the Commissioner of Education Planning, Mr. Okudi Robert. Sorry about that. Honorable Minister, before we go back to the questions that are coming in from our viewer, let's talk about the government strategy for developing sports at both secondary and national level.
Well, then again, the blessing in the subsector, which I thank my minister, is the new sports law. Before, we used to operate under a sports law of 1964, and I'm also happy that finally the statutory instrument, or the SI, which are the regulations, have started operating with the effect of 14th of this month. Now, what is our strategy? First, I want to say this. Our plan is to have we have competitions at primary, which I want to confirm. We send 40 million shilling per district or city or municipal per year for purposes of sports development or competition in respective districts across the country. So in terms of competitions under the Department of Physical Education and Sports, they are responsible for the competition of primary, secondary, tertiary, which also work, particularly at TVET level, technical level, work under the ministry. Then now universities have the Association of the Sports, Universities Association of Sports. They are the ones who manage the competition at the university level. So our strategy specifically, we are now targeting on early identification of our dear children's talents. That's why we have Uganda Secondary School Sports Association organizing competitions in liaison with the Department of Physical Education and Sports at the secondary level. No wonder you see at the regional level, Uganda are the champions. No wonder you see when we go to international competition, like for instance, there's a forum now where secondary schools children compete. They call it the Federation of International Secondary Schools. At the regional level, I attended 1 or 2 activities in Dalian, China. Our teams actually participated, and we were the 3rd overall across the globe. So, in as far as sports development is concerned, we are really focusing more on primary, because that's the early age where we need to identify the talent of the kid. Then we're also concentrating more on secondary, and from secondary, what now we are beginning to push in line with the new law is the introduction of academies. Before, anyone could operate a sports academy, but today, You cannot attempt to operate a sports academy if you do not register with the National Council of Sports.
Talking about academies, Honorable Minister, is it one of the ways, the strategies you have on board to ensure that you support athletes to compete internationally?
It's about professionalizing the games. That's all. Because when it's an academy, it's a sport which must be able to compete, participate, prepare a kid for purposes of, number one, becoming a professional. And that becomes your career. And that's why we say that before, there was no law which could provide for the management of those academies. But today, we have it. So anyone, and let me give this information to the public, that maybe within this week I'll be able to address the press to inform the country that under the new legal regime, if you want to operate an academy, you must register. If you want to be a sports promoter, you must register. If you want to be an agent of any discipline as far as sport is concerned, you must register with the National Council of Sport.
And you must be certified.
Why? It's because we also want to avoid exploitation of our children's talent. No wonder they get a young kid, good agents come from across the globe, boy is taken across the globe, he gets a good contract. The contract is skewed to favor the agent, unlike the athletes. And that's why most of our children have been exploited, name them. So for us, as far as the Ministry of Education and Sports is concerned, we are focusing more on coming up with issue number one, talent development and talent identification and development. Issue number two, we have also zoned the country at the moment to ensure that, like for instance, Hoima, our planning was that Hoima becomes a national sports academy where we are going to have a big area where all sports discipline will be there. Now, when we identify good talent from all our junior competitions, that's where we take them into with the provision of a school, primary, secondary, for purposes of them doing better. But while there, we have good coaches who put these children on high performance.
Honorable, you invest in a lot of money into the field of sports.
Yes.
You've talked about the 40 million shillings that you do put in a district to ensure that they run all those activities. But we have schools that have totally refused to send in their students to participate in the different championships.
That is a risk, and I want really to send a strong warning to our dear teachers that, first of all, physical education and sports is compulsory. So for you not to send in these children to explore their talents and to develop their talents is a risk. So this one, if we go to know about it as a ministry, I have a full commissioner responsible for physical education and sports under the ministry will be able to follow up this. Of course, once in a while we've been picking up some of that information, but we've followed it up. Some of them don't want to allow their children who have been picked to participate in the national competition to go and compete, but I want to confirm that it's a risk on their side because we have primitive actions which we'll take against that school, a teacher, or any teacher, irrespective. Of course, one of the areas also we have been fighting is the issue of age cheating. There's been a norm whereby older people want to come and participate in the primary children's competition, secondary school children's competition. These are the areas where the current law also has defined that at what age do you participate in a primary competition? At what age do you participate in a secondary competition? If you delay to go to school, that's not our problem. Right. Our problem is about, we are planning, we are focusing on identifying a talent of a kid at an early age, nurture it, so that that kid makes it to be a professional. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner, let's talk about digital learning and ICT integration. I do remember in 2024, the Honorable Minister, Janet Museveni, launched a digital agenda strategy to see how best all this can be integrated within the different systems. What have you done as the ministry? Have you provided the ICT infrastructure, that is one, training teachers into this digital era? Have you done all what it takes to ensure that the schools really embrace this new technology?
Thank you. Yeah, we launched the digital agenda for the ministry. The starting point was to make an assessment of the readiness of all our schools, private and public, to uptake digitization of education. So currently what we have done is that we are planning to go for a census, a baseline education census, through which we are going to identify the capacities that our schools have. This census is going to all schools in the country, all education institutions, through which we are going to get to know the capacities. Then we are developing a curriculum, you know, so that our teachers get what we call a digital driving license. This is an international license that is normally issued by an international body. So it's based on a certain sector. For example, with education, they identify digital skills that are required of teachers, and then they issue a certificate for all the teachers based on the competences that they will have acquired. So that's the next step that we are going to embark on, ensure that all the teachers are trained. But before that, as you may be aware, for secondary schools, most of our schools have got ICT labs, and they teach ICT. That is both for O-level and A-level. So we want to make sure that we are going to start with the teachers themselves to ensure that every teacher is IT compliant. And we shall issue certificates from the ministry and try to enforce these across the sector. So that's one of the ways. So once we have made an assessment of the capacities, then we can go into provision of equipment. We are negotiating with service providers so that we have connectivity to the rural areas. Currently, as you know, the e-government network, internet network, has reached almost all the districts of the country. But then you see, reaching the last mile may need a bit of service providers to come in. It's just like electricity. You have transmission, you have generation transmission, and then distribution. So we are trying to work on that infrastructure to ensure that we roll out the digital agenda slowly. Otherwise, we're also trying to promote e-learning. We have recently restructured the ministry to provide for a division for e-learning. Before we had communication and information management division, but now we're upgrading the section into a division so that we're able to harness all these initiatives under the digital agenda. Yeah.
Commissioner, you've talked about what you're doing as a ministry to ensure that you also reach to those rural areas. The Honorable Minister talked about the seed schools that are being constructed. True, the government has constructed these schools, but the equipment, you've talked about what you're doing to see that all this equipment gets to the schools. But time comes for doing UNEB, for example, but you see schools are still crying. They do not have the equipment. We are talking about digitalization, we are talking about e-learning. How best can this be really approached to ensure that we don't leave anybody behind within a given period of time?
Okay, so for the seed schools, we provide all the equipment. So we build a school which has got a science lab, it has got an ICT lab, it has got a furnished library. So otherwise, for the rest of the schools, funds allowing, we shall be able also to provide them with that equipment. But at least for the seed schools that we are constructing now, which is up to about 375 schools under the two programs. That is the Uganda Government Intergovernmental Fiscal Transfers project, where we have 259 schools, and then we have 116 schools under the Uganda Secondary Education Expansion Project. So all these seed schools have got equipped ICT equipment. So the rest, we shall always develop a program how we can roll it out.
All right, let me go through some of the comments that are coming in as well as questions from our viewer. We do have Emma from Namisindwa district. Why is Uganda's sports have politics? I think he's asking why we do have politics within Uganda. We have young men who can play football, but they cannot get the chances. Why? This is Emma. Thank you so much. Honorable Minister will answer that. Thank you, dear UBC, for hosting my dear Minister for Education and Sports. I have 2 questions. As the ministry, what plan is in place for teachers on continuous professional development? Most exciting, secondary schools are seriously understaffed. What plan is in place? This is Jackson Nambale from Namisindwa district. I think the commissioner will tackle that. Good evening. Why aren't there stadiums in other regions not talked about? What's the plan for Kacheka Stadium since the region is left behind in terms of sports development? You didn't. This is Joram Amanya. Okay. The last one is, thanks, presenter. Good evening. My question is, why is the government not carrying out inspection of schools, both government and private? Some private schools don't have sports facilities. Honorable Minister.
Well, maybe let me begin with the latter. The truth is, we have what we call the district inspectors of schools. Those district inspectors of schools are meant to work with us directly as a ministry to help us carry out inspections not only on matters of sports, but also on matters regarding the standards of education across the country. Of course, we also have, and that specifies, that addresses the challenges. You find that some schools were licensed when they even don't have sports facilities, and yet it is one of the conditions for the licensing of what? Of some of these schools. So I want to say that it's work in progress, and now I'm working closely with the district sports officers to help us in terms of follow-up, and they give us silent information so that we are able to follow up with the responsible department at the Ministry of Education and Schools, which is Ministry of Education and Sports, which is responsible for licensing of these schools. The other issue which came up clearly was the issue of the sports politics. Friends, I want to say that while I am privileged with the Minister of State for Education and Sports, the federation's management is all vested on the members of that specific sport as a discipline. How do they come in office? And I'm happy that now the new law, which is beginning to be enforced, is going to allow us to try a bit to go into understanding the governance issues on how they get into their own responsible offices, because what we have also been complaining is that we have been having some of our associations and federations which have called themselves associations when they are briefcase centered in Kampala. But as per the new law, for you to qualify to be a federation, you must be having 75% representation across the country. And for you to qualify to be an association, you must have 50% representation across the country. Then the rest, and I want to tell you that we will not register you or qualify you if you don't beat up that. So for the politics on either of the federation, for instance, on the selection of the national teams, my role within the law is to facilitate the national teams for national competition. Like talk about tomorrow, is the Ministry of Education and Sports which gives money to the federation to support the national team. And this applies to all disciplines, not only football. Any competition which is international, national, is our role. And I want to say government has been doing that diligently. So I think the other question which was within that, I think those two were the ones which were very critical for me.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Commissioner, you did pick some questions that were directed to you.
Yes. So mine was the understaffing.
Yes.
Especially in secondary schools. You see, when you normally make a New Year resolution, you say now from today onwards, I'm going to change my behavior. So just like I talked about the seed schools, you set up a seed school, you say this is the model that I would like. You provide all the equipment to it, all the necessary staffing. So the new schools which have been constructed have been lucky in that there is a new structure which has been approved. That you estimate 60 learners per class, that you plan for 25 teachers, and 6 support staff. Now, the other schools which existed before, we have not had the opportunity to restructure the staffing levels. So that is a work in progress now, because we have to work with the Ministry of Public Service to adjust the structure of the schools. And you know, now we have various classes of schools depending on the enrollment. So the Ministry of Public Service has presented a proposal on how to determine the level of staffing in this school. So we hope that next year or so, we should have structures that we can try to fill. Of course, not forgetting that there is growth in the population which is overstripping resources. So even if we had the structure, we wouldn't move as fast as possible. But progressively, we are improving on the staffing levels. Yes.
Question on Kacheka.
Yes, Kacheka Stadium.
First of all, I want to confirm that under the National Council of Sports, they got some resources for pre-visibility studies. Why? Because government does not invest resources when they have not gone through those systems. And I'm happy that the Commissioner Planning is here, can talk much about it. But as far as we're concerned, we are able to secure some money because we feel Kacheka should be one of the main regional stadiums for Western Uganda. But for purpose of government to invest in, it has to carry out pre-visibility and feasibility studies to ascertain what will be the actual cost of the construction of the project, what is the impact it is going to create to the people around the area. Then we talk about all those other things of environmental social impact assessment. All those are within the pre-visibility study. So I want to say that that work is going on. Of course, we would have had this done earlier, but a few things came up. There was also 1 or 2 issues on the ownership. Remember, Mbarara district local government had thought that the city, they would have remained with the title. And then also the city thought that since the district had moved on. But I really want to appeal to the entire, particularly the local governments. It's important that they secure land for sports development. Be it these cities. World over, there must be green spaces for people to work out. But unfortunately, we prefer to utilize every space. For instance, that Kacheka there, much of its land has been encroached. So, which is, and yet now you see Mbarara as Mbarara is now. We needed to have a full 50,000 stadium in Mbarara.
Honorable, but you see even some of these schools, actually talking about schools that have these stadiums, you realize residents are just using stadiums as pathways, as walkways to go to their homes. This is also hindering the development when it comes to that sector.
Of course, the truth is it's very expensive for those who have the land. Sometimes it's very expensive to try to secure the land because you must be aware that you must carry out a fence, you must carry out a wall fence. And you know, the public also, because of indiscipline, they don't bother, they don't know, the school is here, people want to create a walk around that, which is not good, to be honest. But I want to say that these are the issues which we are going to continue now working on. We must come out and sensitize the public on that. Thank you.
Commissioner, let's talk about corruption. Our time is running out. What are you doing as the ministry to ensure that funds meant for digital integration, curriculum reforms, skills development reaches effectively to ensure that the beneficiaries really benefit from what they have to get, that is from the ministry?
Well, the best way to fight corruption is really transparency.
How are you ensuring this?
So once the local government, for example, communicates to all the stakeholders the amount of resources they are receiving from the center, you find that the public will be monitoring. So that is the effort that the ministry is making. Ensure that the information is as available as possible to the stakeholders through the website, through the various stakeholder groups. For example, if there is any release of grants to a local government, the RDCs are copied in, the LC5s are copied in, the MPs are copied in. So it becomes very, very difficult for any accounting officer to be involved in corruption, because the whole public is monitoring this away of the resource which goes in there. So,
Okay.
so that's basically what we are doing.
Honorable Minister, our time is fast spent. Let's talk about prioritization of certain federations over the others. We have FUFA, we have FIVB, we have FIBA, and very many other federations.
Well, first of all, maybe for the record, let me say this, that whatever is being implemented as of today, I found it as the Minister of State for Sports. I want to say that the government gives a subvention of about 30 billion, specifically at the federations. So in terms of the prioritization, it's the role of council, which is the National Council of Sports Board, which is responsible for management of the affairs of these funds when it is allocated to them. But I also want to say that some of these funds had been ring-fenced by the appropriating authority, which is the Parliament of Uganda. So if you talk about football, I want to say that football initially their budget has been 17 billion, but I think there was a cut to about 14 billion. And of course, the most popular sport is football. Number two, they have also been managing about 10 teams. So 10 teams, even if you divide by 17 billion, it gives you an investment of about 1.7 billion. And in terms of the different international competition, it becomes a bit, in my considered opinion, it is still little money. However, for me, when you go to athletics, if you look at the world, how our country is being marketed, I think for me, the biggest sport is athletics, because we normally compete and participate in international competition. We just came back from Paris Games, Olympic Games. We participate in all African Games. We participate in the Commonwealth Games. Then we also participate in the indoor games, which is, you know it, World Championship. Athletics, at all times, you find that Uganda gets out with the gold, the silver. Never have we gone to participate in a competition when we don't come back without a medal. So if it is in terms of giving the special funding based on the performance, for me, I would say athletics is number one.
Who determines the payment, Honorable, when it comes
like
to
I've said earlier on,
referees, for example?
Who determines the payments for referees?
For example, you realize that football, referees per day, maybe they could be getting about 50,000, basketball maybe 70,000, volleyball maybe 30,000, and there is that controversy within these athletes.
I want to be honest, that's the role of different federations.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not actually mine. That is now directly under their management. Mine, I deal with the national team competitions.
All right.
Thank you.
Allow me some pot. Our time is actually done, but my producer has given me some more time to at least sample out 10 questions. That means I will choose those you can answer very fast as we sign out. All right. I do have Mabonga Barnabas. Hello, we are here about TVET University. Where is it? How is e-learning effective in the science era? How are you addressing corruption in the education sector? I think the commissioner has answered that. As you start most schools in the country, what have you done to uplift our traditional government schools? That is Mabonga. Thank you so much. Angichu Benjamin, student Chambogo Soroti Learning Center. My question is this study center also recognized? If so, why do we always delay to get results and there is increased turnover of staff, especially lecturers? That is Angichu Ben, Chambogo Soroti Learning Center. Thank you so much. Hi Jethro, Bernardo Dida here in Muyenga. My concern is about FUFA hiring expensive foreign football coaches which don't match value for money. Is it really true that Ugandan coaches or other coaches from within the region cannot handle the job? Thank you so much. Good evening, Jethro. Silas from Makiso. My question goes to the commissioner. Now that they rolled new curriculum, competent best, what happens to someone who did A-level some years ago and wants to enroll for university in some years to come? Thank you. That is Silas from Makiso. Good evening, I'm Dennis from Kitgum. I've seen the TVET Act 2025. How will the education sector see and monitor private institutions offering TVET programs in staff qualifications, and what is the minimum requirement for one to be employed in TVET? Okay, more 2 people to go. Thanks for the program. I'm here watching in Rubirizi district, Bunyaruguru. Thank you so much to Namasiko. Teacher training support. How is the ministry working to enhance teacher training programs and provide ongoing support to ensure educators are equipped to deliver high quality education? Access to education. What initiatives is the ministry implementing to increase access to education for marginalized communities, including children with disabilities? Ladies and gentlemen, your comments are very many. I cannot explore all of them. Honorable Minister,
well,
Honorable, I think let me start with the Commissioner, then he signs out, and then you will be the last. Commissioner, please.
Okay, Mr. Mabonga asked about the traditional schools. Mr. Mabonga, schools probably near to his area of birth, in Abumali High School, Bubulo High. We are negotiating with the World Bank for a loan, and it's being co-financed by partners who intend to give us grants. So about 120 traditional schools are earmarked for rehabilitation. The program was delayed a little bit when the World Bank suspended the negotiation of any further assistance to us, but we have resumed those discussions. So we hope that will be rolled out soon. The other one is about the curriculum enrollment in the university. A few years to come, the universities always have different programs of ensuring that students who come from different curricula are accommodated in the programs. There's also an opportunity for UNEB to equate. If the university doesn't have that program, UNEB has a program to equate any qualification to the current qualification. So that is no problem at all. On children with disabilities, in primary, we have affirmative action for special needs education learners.
Yeah.
Currently our capitation is 20,000, but for special needs, it's 22. So it goes along all the levels of education. There's affirmative action. For UCE, that is Uganda Secondary Education, we have about 1 million shillings per learner, per annum, for the special needs schools. Because you see, we have special needs learners who can learn in a normal school, but there are those who are specialized. We have a few schools where they're entirely for the blind, for the deaf, and for other impairments. So those ones have got affirmative action. So for special needs education, we try to provide that affirmative action. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, for me, I only want to say that I think we needed more time.
Yeah, true.
As a sector. So next time we'll ask that the national broadcast actually allows me to bring in my entire expertise to come and give Ugandans a lot of information regarding the sector and what we are doing. The last one is, of course, to say there's been a question of corruption, which I don't know under which level, because this ministry is really headed by our dear mother, who believes in 100% zero tolerance to corruption. And if there's anyone who has any information regarding the sector in any area which he or she believes things are not going on well, I want to ask you to formally write formally to her, which I want to say that it will reach her desk, because all letters addressed to her go to her. So that helps us to address issues of corruption and in the sector. So I want to thank UBC for giving us opportunity. I want to thank the Commissioner. We will be at your service anytime you need us again. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Honorable Minister Peter Ogwang, for sparing time to come and talk to Ugandans about what is happening within your docket. Thank you so much, Commissioner. Mr. Okudi Robert, thank you so much for sparing time. Now, the Ministry of Education has a lot to do. But like the minister stated earlier in his first remarks, he said they do have a number of agencies that are allied to it when it comes to issues making policies. But they do whatever it takes to ensure that they provide the proper services up to the last Ugandan. What is being done, what is being left, of course, we still have to wait to see what they do have for us. But from me and the entire team, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for sparing time, for watching UBC TV. Keep your questions and comments, of course, coming in using the hashtag UBC Frontbench. But of course, you can as well tag in the Ministry of Education. Some of your issues can easily be tackled or addressed when it comes to that issue. My name is Jethro Kasaigi. From me and the entire team, it's a good night.
Oh, Uganda.